I don't know.
Hey, so it's been
delayed
you talk
phrasing.
about AFC North, like we're going through all the different divisions, and we are talking about buying and selling futures on NFL teams, which stocks rising, which is falling. So everyone in the AFC North is writing off Big Ben. Baker Mayfield is now playing with a torn labrum in his left shoulder, non-throwing, but still dealing with that. Key, how does this injury impact Baker? It's not the throwing arm, but it's got to still be impactful, no?
Yeah, it seems that way, right? He's had a couple games where he's missed some targets, and it seemed like some easier throws that earlier in the year he would have made, or late last year he would have made. So it has to have some effect on his ability to be able to deliver the football in sync. Now, you can make the excuse that's why he's played that way. I don't know. I think he'll be okay. If he's playing, it may not be all that serious because he's playing. There's no surgery that's being done. They're not taking him out of the lineup. So we'll see against the Chargers what happens.
They said this happened in the game against the Texans, which was their second game of the year, right? So they played 2 games thus since. Obviously, a lot of talk the other day about him not having the chemistry with OBJ, really throwing the ball behind Odell and staring at Odell instead of going through his progressions. I think that's an interesting narrative to follow through. But look, I don't – could you replace Baker Mayfield with a guy like Matt Ryan, and could they be better? Yeah.
Interesting. It's interesting you say that. So, as you guys know, there's a
replacing with Matt Ryan.
I'm just saying, as really serviceable quarterbacks,
right.
Like,
the idea is you're right. Is how important Baker is, and are there other people that you could replace him with? And why I say that is because Bart Scott. You guys know we have a show, Bart and Hahn.
Yes,
right.
Heard of it before.
Starts at noon Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio. So he was on Get Up, and he said this about Baker Mayfield, which caught a lot of people's attention.
Could you imagine Aaron Rodgers on the squad like this? I mean, you upgrade that position just a little bit, and they become the prohibited favorite for the Super Bowl. This team has 2 of everything. 2 tight ends, 2 great receivers, like 2 great tackles, the best offensive line of the game, 2 great running backs. I mean, what else can a guy need or ask for? He should be playing at a high level. And listen, I disagree totally with Dan Orlovsky. Like, it's not an Odell problem. It's a Baker Mayfield skill problem. Because when I look at those 3 plays, I see Odell Beckham looking about to make a reservation for 6 in the end zone, about to hit his head on the goalpost. So I don't know what Dan's talking about, but this is a guy that's wide open. You throw to the good players. Listen, he's limited in his ability. It's always been the case. And if you could redo that draft all over with, how many people would pick Baker Mayfield first?
Wow. He says that. He says Baker Mayfield's the most replaceable guy in the NFL. Do we agree or disagree, guys?
I agree with 90% of what Bart just said. Let's start where he stopped. Is he replaceable? Yeah, he could. You could argue that another quarterback on another team can come to Cleveland and they'll be in the same position or better. You could argue that. I could take many of those middle tier quarterbacks that 9 to 17 QB, and they will be in the same position, if not better. Then when you talk about missing guys, he has an injury. It's going to happen. He's still a damn good quarterback. If you think about it, the only team that probably would have taken Baker Mayfield number 1 overall, and I'm not talking about based on where Lamar and Josh Allen and Sam Darnold's playing today. We're talking about when the draft came out.
At the time, yes.
At the time. Cleveland would have been the only team that would have taken him number 1 overall. And that was a John Dorsey, shut my door. I'm not listening to anybody tell me as the general manager who the hell to take. I'm giving you facts, Hahn. Reality and facts.
I'm with you. No, I was all over. I covered that draft. I was all over that draft, and that's exactly right. John Dorsey was the, Baker Mayfield no matter what in that draft, in a quarterback draft that was compelling. But you're right. in hindsight, you can say easily, oh, Lamar Jackson, MVP, Josh Allen, a future MVP. But at the time, we forget where Josh Allen was coming from. Wyoming, who was watching them play? You had no idea what he was going to be. And there were questions about Lamar Jackson. Could he be a pocket passer? Could he be a quarterback in the NFL? Some people didn't believe it.
There were people on that staff that I know personally that told me at a workout that I was at of a quarterback that they wouldn't touch Baker Mayfield, but it's not their decision. That Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and Sam Darnold was graded 1, 2, 3 on his board. He turned it in, and they decided to go with Baker Mayfield. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with it, except other people wouldn't have did it. That's it.
In the organization, you're saying?
Other people wouldn't have did it, and other coaches wouldn't have did it. That was if a coach was in Cleveland that had power, they wouldn't have did it. John Dorsey's the only person that did it, and he's done fine. They overdrafted him. There's nothing wrong with it. They just overdrafted him.
Yeah.
By the way, and
fair.
the Browns know this though, which is why they haven't offered him a contract extension yet, right?
That's a big decision, isn't
Like
it?
they know that. They're sitting there watching, saying, okay, regardless of whether he has a torn labrum or not, like this is the year where we get a chance to find out about Baker Mayfield. He finished the second half of last year at an extremely high clip. He was efficient, a lot of hype in the offseason. Now we get a chance to find out where Baker Mayfield actually lines up as it relates to quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah, but it's tough. It's
Sorry,
tough.
yeah.
It's tough to let the number 1 overall pick walk out the door.
Yeah, but you're going to let him go. I mean,
tough.
what
Especially
kind
for
of
a
money does he
franchise-
want to warrant, though, Key?
But especially for a franchise that has been, and that'll be my argument. That'll be my pushback. You're a franchise that has waited 20 years to
find
find
one guy.
someone.
Exactly.
You have a guy who at least you know is capable. Is he going to be a superstar? Maybe not, but at least he's capable. Do you want to go back into the pool of franchises that are still searching when you do have a guy that can at least get the job done? That's when you ask, is it worth it to you in your situation versus is that contract, is like, when we talk about market value, sometimes market value is one thing at your position, but how about for your specific franchise, his value is higher than it would be for other teams. Would you agree?
Absolutely. But let me ask you, actor, as I like to call you, because you got the actor look, the California actor look, the blue eyes, the hair, the little square chin deal going. Is he better than Kirk Cousins?
Yeah, no.
Not this year.
He's not better than Kirk Cousins.
So
Not this year.
Kirk Cousins has shown you at least, he's demonstrated statistically that he is a really good quarterback. I just don't know if he's a leader that you want at that position.
And
but
the reason
statistically he's better.
And the reason I asked you that is because Kevin Stefanski had great success in Minnesota coaching Kirk Cousins, which allowed him to get this job as a Cleveland Browns head coach. Baker Mayfield, in my opinion, is every bit as good in this system, in this offense, as Kirk Cousins. And you see what they're paying Kirk Cousins. So when Jay speaks to a contract situation, you see what they're paying him. So he's going to get paid. They're not letting him walk out the door. He just won't be a $60 million a year quarterback. That's all.
Well, you also will be waiting to see what happens with Aaron Rodgers. You'll just be waiting. You'll be keeping your ear to the street on what happens.
I do not see him playing.
I mean,
Well, regardless of whether you do or not,
be attached to many teams, man.
Exactly. I hear you. That's what, but regardless of whatever you say, if you don't think it can happen or not, if you're Kevin Stefanski, you got to keep your ear to the street on Aaron Rodgers.
But it doesn't
Pittsburgh,
matter.
Not Browns.
Aaron Rodgers does not matter. Although I would take Aaron Rodgers, but Aaron Rodgers doesn't matter because of what they do, their style. If we were talking about a team that depended solely on the quarterback, then Aaron Rodgers fits, no question. But that's not what Cleveland and Kevin Stefanski's offense is.
I completely understand that, but you still need a quarterback to make big plays down the stretch when it matters. And I'm not saying Baker can't do that, but I know I jumped the gun on my Matt Ryan point earlier. But if you're looking at a situation, if it doesn't really pan out with Baker this year, and you're looking at Matt Ryan saying, how would Matt Ryan fit in with the Cleveland Browns?
And the reason why you say that is because of the window, right?
Yes.
For the Browns. What's their window with this team, with those running backs, with that defense? how much time do they have and how much time can they wait to figure it out? Because everything else, you heard Bart say it, everything else about them screams this is an elite team, but do they have an elite quarterback?
Key, you wouldn't kick around the Matt Ryan idea if you were unsure about Baker Mayfield this year, if they find a way to fizzle out early? You're not toying around with that to some degree? Or are you just locking step with Baker Mayfield?
Matt is good, and he deserves to be on a ready-made team to go.
Yes.
But not with a young quarterback. He needs to be on